Let's see, I started playing music when I was 5. I think I picked up the guitar when I saw Elvis Presley at the Cotton Bowl. And I watched him, and I said, that's what I got to do. And that was probably about 56, 57 when I started playing guitar.
So you're 11?
Yeah.
11, 12?
Yeah.
You say you were doing music when you were 5. What kind of music?
Classical violin.
Oh.
And lap steel guitar.
And lap steel guitar
Yeah.
and classical violin.
Yeah, both of them at the same time.
Well, I came across something where it was in, I still can't believe it. It was in high school when you recorded with Jimmy Reed.
Yeah.
And that Jimmy Reed LP that has a painting of Jimmy Reed on the cover that we've all seen, he is on track number 6.
Yeah. Well, I actually, on
Really?
that one, William, I toured with Jimmy. I didn't record with him in high school. See, my drummer in my high school band was a year ahead of us in my band that I had from junior high school all the way through high school. Well, Donnie had been playing with Reed, and between my junior and senior year, he called me up and said, you want to do a gig with Jimmy Reed? His bass player didn't show up and is actually here in Dallas. And I said, sure, because, I knew all of Jimmy's stuff, And so I went, it was over at the old Four Seasons Apartments. You remember them, where they had that club over there?
Yeah.
It was over there in that club, the Four Seasons Club. And I did that job with him there. And when I got out of high school, that was the only one gig I played with him during the summer, And then when I got out of high school, Donnie called me up and says, hey, man, you want to go to work with Reed on the road? And, of course, I really hadn't thought about going on the road at that time. And I said, sure. So I was out there with him for almost 2 years.
Were you the only white guy in the band?
Me and Donnie.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, Jimmy's wife had to stand up there and hold him up all the time and whisper words in his ears.
I read where he would put his harmonicas in a glass of beer.
Oh, yeah.
And you ruined one of your mics.
I've got a brand new, well, it was brand new. Never used it. It's still in the house, and the only reason I kept it because Reed trashed it for me. Electric Boy 664. He pulled that thing, I think it was a D-harp, pulled it out of that beer. And man, when he didn't shake it, he blew it, it just looked like a darn shower. And that beer got down inside the microphone and just ate everything up. I mean, it even pitted the chrome on the outer case of it.
Golly. That's incredible.
So what was it like touring with, to many of us, that's a legend. Was he a legend to you, or were you still young enough?
Well, he was before I started playing with him.
Yeah.
Of course, then that's when you learn a lot of bad things about people. Of course, pretty much when we were on the road, we hardly ever saw him until we were on stage. Because his wife had to keep him locked up, try to keep him halfway sober. And I know she'd even, like when they would do a session with him, they'd lock him up in a room for about 2 or 3 weeks to get him halfway sober. Then they'd bring him out so he could start laying the vocals down. Because if you ever listen to any of his records, you can hear his wife in the background saying the words to him. Even on Boss Man, Caress Me Baby, all that stuff. You can hear her in the background. That's the way she was live. She was right there holding him up because he couldn't remember his words. Yeah. Basically, old man Abner started Abnack Music Enterprises for John Jr. And Abnack was originally, his dad was, I think, Bankers Commercial Life Insurance. He was in the insurance business.
Here in Dallas?
Yeah, in Dallas. It used to be at the corner of Ross and Olive. And John finagled his dad to start a record company for him. And because he kind of always got his way about everything. And so this is gosh, like 64, 65 when they started that originally. I got involved with them about late 66. And because I know two of the guys working with me in the high-ho shebang out in Grand Prairie, they went to the cattle call down there for keyboards and drums. And but anyway, it started out as just really kind of a little thing to pacify Junior. And then the Five Americans came in town, and of course then they heard about the Five Americans, and old man Abner really liked them because because they were kind of coming along about the same time, with the Beatle wave and all that stuff. And of course, Abnack took off pretty good when the Five Americans started putting out hits. So that's when they got real serious about putting something together for John. They started calling in better musicians and things like that. And that's when I went down for the cattle call after two of the guys that worked with me ended up going with them. And pretty much the rest of it just kind of was history. Like they went international. They got big over in Europe and all that stuff.
Remind listeners of some of those Five Americans hits.
I See the Light, She's Too Good to Me, Western Union, what was it, Zip Code? Oh, God, I can't remember. There's so darn many of them. Yeah, because the In Crowd, we had out 2 singles that did, actually we outsold everything that John and Robin did, and old man Abner got mad and wouldn't let us record anymore by ourselves. We had Hanging From Your Loving Tree, which was Jerry Williams that wrote for Clapton, Behind the Sun. He wrote Pretending, Alibi, Nowhere Man, all that kind of stuff. He wrote Standing on the Edge for B.B. King. Can't Get Enough, what is that thing he wrote for Delbert McClendon? You hear it all the time. He's singing with Delbert on that thing. And he wrote umpteen dozen hits for Dave Mason.
What's his name again?
Jerry Williams. Yeah, Jerry was a Fort Worth guy. He died 3 years ago. Because I know we went to the thing where they had for him over J&J's Blues Bar. And Jerry, because the In Crowd, we had a lot of talented people. We had Bobby Rambo. Pryor had been with Scotty McKay that did all the Scotty stuff. When John and Robert broke up, he did 8 albums with Jerry Jeff Walker, played with Linda Ronstadt. He's been working with me on projects here in the studio. We had Rex Ludwig on drums. He was the second drummer that played with Willie Nelson, and he also played Tex in the movie Honeysuckle Rose. Mm-hmm. And he ended up turning into a guy that was Slim Pickens, and he got to really be a pretty well-known character actor. And then we had, of course, Jim Glaves, the keyboard player, the original one.
Say his last name again.
Glaves, Glaves.
Okay.
Jim was with me during the Hi-Ho Shebang stuff, and he was with us for, the first year and a half with John and Robin. Jim left, and then Bobby knew a guitar player in L.A., and so he called Jerry up and asked him about a B3 player he'd been telling us about. So his name was Lenny Lee, and Lenny ended up coming in and joining us, and phenomenal talent. And after there again, Abnack broke up. He moved back to L.A., and his first thing after he went to L.A. was a group called Sweat Hog. Had a big hit out called Hallelujah. 72 is when old man Abner shut everything down. They loaded everything up out of the record companies and took everything, went down to the record vault, took cases of records, all the equipment we had. The records and stuff like that went to the trash, stuff that was never even opened. As far as the equipment and the gold records, that was in lockup for a long time. Charlotte Glaze, that was married to Jim, our keyboard player, that passed away in '99, her daughter married John Jr.'s son. And so Charlotte and John Jr.'s, his name's John too, basically called me up and told me about what all happened to the equipment. Ms. Abner kept all that stuff in storage. But when she passed away, what I understand, they were owed the IRS a bunch of money, and the IRS confiscated everything. But before they could get into the warehouse and all that stuff where this stuff was stored, all that stuff went to the dumpster. I'm talking old vintage Fender Showman amps, everything. There was like 32 vintage Fender Showmans, I know, because that's what we used to have on stage, 32 of them. And they went to the trash, 4 feet of organs, there was box amps, it all went into a dumpster. I'm talking Fender Stratocasters. Shoot, I had an old Beetle Hofner bass that I recorded just about everything John and Robin did on that, on that bass. It wasn't worth a flip live. That went to the dump, everything. All those gold records, everything. Most of the stuff the Five Americans had ever done, it all went to the dump. Every bit of it. Anything that pertained to Abnack went to the trash.